raised my hand, said, "Hi, I'm Wendy, and I'm an alcoholic."
Wow.
A weight lifted off of me. My whole life, as a result of giving up alcohol and working a program and doing a lot of work, my whole life actually changed. And that's when I had the courage.
Your book's called #Your Rules, Your Life. And one of the things you talk about is in the book is about marrying the right person, how important that is.
It's important to know what your values are, your ethics, and if you both are on the same page.
What would you say to yourself if you could tell yourself something, some advice or some sort of tidbit of information?
Don't quit before the miracle. Just keep going.
Labeled a slow learner.
I always felt a little bit
Always felt
different.
like there was something wrong with me.
so
Embarrassed.
Wasn't ready to see
I
myself.
can't go any
Don't
lower.
sell yourself short.
Uncovering all those feelings. Everything was lifted at that moment.
This really wasn't about not drinking.
Welcome to Crosstalk Podcast, and welcome, Irene. How you doing?
Corey, thank you. So happy to be here.
We have an amazing episode
I
today.
know.
I don't think there's going to be 1 second that we're not talking. Everybody's going to have something to say because we have an author, an international speaker.
We're here in New York.
In New
Don't
York,
forget.
that's right. A beautiful human being,
Human being.
a licensed social worker, therapist, and an amazing person in recovery. We have Wendy Behar. I'm so excited for you to be here on Crosstalk Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to meet you both in person. This is really a gift. So I'm glad that I'm here.
Thank you for joining us.
So, Wendy, tell us a little bit about how life started, a little bit of where you grew up, and we'll get going.
Okay.
Wait, can I guess?
Yes.
Did you grow up in Long Island?
No, you can't tell from my accent.
I just had to do it.
Yes. So when I was 6 years old, believe it or not, was the first time I actually tasted scotch. My father would have a glass of scotch every night after work. And I remember when I was 6 years old, putting my finger in the glass and licking it. And I was like, oh, this tastes really good. And that was my first experience with alcohol. And growing up, my parents, at the ends of the evening, they would have drinks. And this is what I saw. I was an only child. And we would hang out. And we ended up, as I got older, we would drink together. I was very close to my parents. I was their everything. Very codependent, enmeshed relationship. And my father, coincidentally, was a liquor salesman.
Oh, wow.
And he would serve all the top restaurants and nightclubs in Manhattan. And at 13, I would go with my friends, and we would go into the city, Studio 54, Limelight,
Oh my God.
and party. And I would drink. This is 13 years old. I can't even imagine. And I would dance on the speakers. I was called Wild Wendy. And I just had fun. I had fun throwing up, blacking out. And that's what we all did. Growing up in Forest Hills, I would walk to high school and I would actually smoke pot. And I even remember that my mother was asked to come to school to speak to the principal one day. And the principal said, you know what? Something's really wrong with your daughter. She's very moody. One time she'll be really great in class, and the next day, the teacher will have to kick her out and put her in the hall. I was a class clown. And little did we know that it was the pot, because my mother didn't know that. My parents didn't smoke pot, but I would drink with them and go out to Broadway shows. We also would play tennis, go horseback riding, go to the beach. It was a very, like I said, codependent, close relationship.
But everything was a lot of fun. So everything was going in the way you thought it should go.
Right. I had a great time.
Now, you were blacking out in your high school years.
Yes.
That's pretty early for blacking out.
Right. Not remembering what I said and what I did. So, actually, when I was 15, my parents decided to have a geographical cure
Oh.
which, we talk about.
That works
in
all the time.
recovery.
Yeah.
I
You
know
know,
all about those.
Right? Like, let's move somewhere else and you won't become be an addict or an alcoholic. And actually, believe it or not, it did help a little bit. So when we moved to Long Island, as you can tell.
Mhm.
And I went to Herrick's High School, which was in Roslyn. And I would drink on the weekends. We would go into US Blues and I would bang into poles. And again, not remembering what I said or what I did and just having fun. And the person that I was dating at the time, he was the football coach, quarterback, and we actually went to the prom together. But a lot of times when I was with him, I would get really drunk. And eventually that relationship, when we were in college, ended because he was normal and healthy and I wasn't.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Hofstra.
Okay.
And I majored in psychology. And when I went to college, I, believe it or not, was summa cum laude. I don't know how that happened, but during that time, I had a boyfriend who was a drug dealer. So like attracts like.
Right.
And we would actually make Quaaludes out of powder. You ever hear about that?
No, never heard.
Quaaludes?
What are
Yeah.
Quaaludes?
Quaaludes
714.
that was my drug of choice when I was active. Yeah.
Me too. And eventually I met my first husband, who my parents picked for me. He would play tennis, and then I should have ran. If my parents picked him, I should have known. But alcohol, sea breeze, always romanticizing, having champagne on the beach. Our life revolved around it. He was very successful, and he made me laugh until he made me cry.
Right.
And I was 22 when I got married. I can't even imagine
Mhm.
today.
So, having read your book, which I want to just show everybody, it's called #Your Rules, Your Life by Wendy Behar. And one of the things you talk about is in the book is about marrying the right person, how important that is. Talk a little bit about what you didn't have in your first marriage. And of course, I know from having spoken to you earlier that today is a different story. Can you talk a little bit about what about selecting Steve? And I know you get along with him, and we're not going to say anything bad about Steve because there's nothing bad to say other than the selection process.
I don't agree with that, but okay.
Well,
There's a lot of bad things I could say.
what about the selection process? What should somebody be doing or thinking about? I'm asking you to put your therapist cap on a little bit to be able to make a good choice.
Okay, so what I did was I chose him because he was handsome, he was financially successful, and he made me laugh. That's not a reason to get married.
Those sound like literally my criteria.
That's why you're still single.
Right, exactly.
So really, it's important to know what your values are, your ethics, and if you both are on the same page. Well, I was 22. What did I know? I didn't know about relationships, really, just having fun. That's what I thought a relationship is, and it's so much more. And I wish that I sat with Steve and talked about his family, the problems growing up, trauma that he experienced, and really learning about who I was and who he was, because at the time at 22, I wanted to go back to graduate school. I said to him, I really want to become a social worker. I love helping people.
You knew then.
Yes.
So, okay, wow.
And he was not supportive of that.
No, he said, forget it. You're gonna have children.
Right.
Why do you want to go back to graduate school? It's ridiculous.
And you went along with it.
Yeah. I had low self-esteem, and I was like, okay. And, at 26, I had my first child. But getting back to, I don't know if I answered that question. So really important to know who you are, what your values are. And I always talk about manifestation, law of attraction, and writing down all the qualities that you want in a person. And really think about it, because there's a lot there. to be on the same page and have respect. And he was very controlling, but I didn't know that until I got through the marriage.
So, at what point did you decide that this marriage is not for me?
So we went along being married, and when I was 26, I had my first child. And then I had my second child at 29. And as we had these children, I don't really think that he should have been married or had children, because when things were fun, that was great. But then when you have children, things happen, and you have to
You have to be present for things that aren't so much fun.
right. You have to be present. Can't have a temper. You have to learn how to communicate. And all that, wasn't really happening. And my drinking increased. 6 o'clock. During the day, you would never drink. I did all the things that a mom's supposed to do. Took my children to all their sporting events, did homework, played with them, did board games, sports. Like, I loved it when they were little. When I got to be 12 and 13, I'm like, bye, you can leave with those hormones. But when they were young, it was so much fun. I really loved being a mom. But at 6 o'clock, I would have my red Solo cup and fill it with wine. And it progressed to vodka and to hiding vodka bottles in the basement in shoe boxes, because, women love shoes, right? Mm-hmm. So I would hide it in there. And I would go downstairs, pour the vodka, warm vodka, didn't matter, and then run upstairs, up and down. I would do that towards the end. And I mixed it with Valium.
Was he drinking? Did he... Did he notice, or was he not noticing because he was drinking, you just were drinking more on the sly?
Yes, he didn't know, but my personality changed. And you never knew. Like, sometimes I could drink and I'd be fine. Other times I would really tell you what I thought about you, and we would fight because I had a lot of anger. I was upset with him, the way he was behaving in certain circumstances. And I felt powerless. So I would drink liquid courage and then say what I wanted to say, and we would get into arguments, which was horrible for my children. Really horrible, traumatizing.
And the Valium, we know that when you mix alcohol with most substances, but there's some synergy that creates an effect that's multiplies the impact. Did you get sloppy in front of the kids, and was it a bad scene, or were you mostly, in control?
Well, I'm trying to really think back, because they were 7 and 9 when I got sober. I was 35, and I wish they were younger. I wish they didn't have to see that at all, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So I would say that they were sleeping, because I would drink at night, so they didn't see it until the end, which was my bottom. When I was 35, we went to a business function, and my husband said to me, "Wendy, please don't drink a lot, please." And of course, if you tell me to do that, I do the opposite.
I was literally just thinking, like, why would he say that? That's the worst thing you can say to an alcoholic.
Right. Don't tell me what to do.
Right. How dare you?
Right. And I remember going to this wedding, and I would go to the bartender. I said, "You see this glass of wine here? Just keep filling it up." So every time I walked by, I don't even know how much I drank. I just kept on drinking and drinking, and my children were with me. And I forgot what I said, what I did. I was very sloppy. He asked me if I was sloppy. Yes. And they saw it. And that was the first time that I'm aware of and conscious of that they saw me act that way.
I mean, that's why we say don't bring kids to weddings.
Right.
So how did they remark, like, "Mommy, what's wrong?" or "Why you like this?" or was there any commentary from them either that night or the next day?
Well, that night you wouldn't know what was going on.
No.
Well, then
I was totally. Well, what happened was, it was interesting that night. My children went upstairs to bed. I don't remember exactly. And my husband cried. Now, he never cried. He was a tough guy, never cried. He said, please get help. And my mother and my father came over. We lived 2 traffic lights away. My in-laws lived another traffic light away. We were very close. And for some reason, I went to the Yellow Pages. Now, if you don't know what the Yellow Pages are, there's a book. It's like Google. And I don't know why I looked up AA. I never heard of AA. I think it was God. God told me to open that book, and we found an AA meeting in Manhasset on a Sunday, because Saturday was the wedding, and my mother went with me. And it was actually an anniversary. And they said, anybody here for the first time want to say hello? And I raised my hand, said, hi, I'm Wendy, and I'm an alcoholic.
Wow.
A weight lifted off of me. And from that moment on, went to meetings, found a sponsor, and did all the suggestions that they told me to do. I'm a very good student. And my whole life, as a result of giving up alcohol and working a program and doing a lot of work, therapy and program, sponsoring and sponsorship, my whole life actually changed. And that's when I had the courage at 40 to go back to graduate school, to become a social worker.
This was, you were no longer with Steve at this time.
Well, I was very smart. Steve, don't listen to this, but I knew I was getting a divorce. So I went back to graduate school and had you pay for it at Adelphi. And after the 3 years, because it was a part-time program, because I had my 2 children, so I didn't do it full-time, he paid for it. And we got divorced when I was done getting my degree.
So you just felt something release that day that you found AA.
I felt, oh God, a weight was lifted off of my shoulders. Yeah. And I didn't even know anything about rehabs. I didn't know that even that was an option, but I used the rooms of AA as my rehab. That was my priority. My children had soccer. I would say to my husband, take them to soccer. I'll meet you at the game if it coincided with the meeting that I went to. So I went to my meetings 5 times a week. The suggestion is 90 and 90, but I didn't do that. And I started drifting apart from my husband because I was getting healthy and doing work and he wasn't. So we were just not on the same page anymore. And he would call me a spiritual weirdo because I believe in God and I would pray and meditate. And I was very different. So we just drifted apart.
You became different.
Yes, I'm a different person even now than I was then. Like I'm always changing. We all are.
Evolving.
So in your book, you have you talk a good deal. I mean, I read the book and it was wonderful, by the way, and I've recommended it to a lot of people, including family members, friends, people in recovery. There's a lot of talk about staying in your own lane, codependence, not really giving as much weight to what other people think, doing what you know is right, no is a complete answer. Talk a little bit about when did these principles become your credos? How did you start taking care of yourself better? You use the phrase in your book, taking care of yourself,
yes,
which is something I never understood, 40 years ago. My therapist kept telling me, Corey, you have to learn how to take care of yourself. What the hell does that mean? Talk to us a little bit about how that became part of your life and how you became a teacher to other people about that.
So when I, went to the rooms of AA and there was a coin that said, you turn it over, the coin, you get a 24-hour coin, 1 month, 3 months. It says, to thine own self be true. So thine own self be true. What does that mean? I had no idea because I was a people pleaser. I was raised to make my parents happy and to say yes, even when I meant no. And I started learning about myself and what my needs were. I didn't even know I had needs
Right.
because I just had to please you. That's what I was taught to do. And I started going to therapy. And then my sponsor from AA suggested I go to Al-Anon. And I started going to Al-Anon to learn to stay in my lane and take care of myself. And what does that mean? That means I'm going to prioritize what I want to do. And for a while, I had to lie to my grandmother, for example. She would want me to come over. I'd say, Nanny, I'm working. But I wasn't working. I was getting a massage because that's what I needed. But she would not understand that. So I didn't feel safe enough to say no to my family members.
There's a point at which
Mm-hmm.
you transitioned from behaving in a way that wasn't true to yourself to doing what you thought was best for you. That stage in between, that transition stage, that's hard.
Yes.
Where you're trying to learn a new way. The same way it's hard to go from drinking all the time to being sober.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of things did you go through in that stage that created the environment where you could not care what somebody else thought as much?
Mm-hmm.
Because people are mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
You can live with that today.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time where people were mad at you. You couldn't live with that.
No.
You'd have to do something that wasn't good for yourself.
Right.
How long was that transition for you? How hard was it?
Very hard. I'm sober now 28 years, right? And I would say for 28 years, I'm working on it. You know, I don't always have it down. I'm constantly, I always think one step forward, 3 steps back. Oops, I said yes again. Instead of pausing and thinking, let me get back to you. Oh, I'm in a good mood, so I say yes. And then I'm like, oh, why did I say yes? You know, I'm working and I'm doing a lot of different things and I have to balance it. And then I go back on my word and then someone will say, well, you said well, I'm sorry. I'm really tired. I can't. And right now I have an autoimmune, situation where I really have to watch what I'm doing. And I think God gave me that because that's the only way I'll probably say no as often as I do, because I physically cannot do it. So whatever it is, whether it's psychosomatic, it helps me, but it takes a really long time, but you have to replace it. Just like with alcohol, we need to replace it with other things. Healthy people, meetings for me, replacing, I used to have a lot of chamomile teas and all different herbal teas at 6 o'clock instead of the wine. So to replace it and replace it with healthy people. Most of my friends are in recovery, whether in Al-Anon working on themselves or AA and even ACA. I go to ACA now the last 3 years. So I'm constantly doing work.
For people that don't know, talk to us. ACA is
Adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families,
Right.
which I believe most of us have a dysfunctional family.
Someone said to me once, they said, you should go to an ACA meeting. And I said, why? My parents weren't alcoholics. And then they said, you should read the laundry list. I had no idea what they were talking about. And then someone read the laundry list to me and I was like, I can check off probably most of them. And so I love that they've added and dysfunctional families because
Yes.
I would have never felt included unless I had heard that list. But it's pretty incredible that I think all of us are touched by this in some way.
Yes.
Whether or not people want to fully believe it is a different story.
Mm-hmm.
How in the past few years, since finding ACA, are you going to less AA meetings? Like, have you kind of transferred your fellowship?
Yes, exactly. That's what's been happening.
It's a lot to do 3 different
Right.
programs.
It's easier now because we have Zoom. From the pandemic, something good came out of it, which is Zoom meetings. There's no excuse. So at 7:30 in the morning, I can go to Al-Anon before I see my clients. And every Saturday, I'll go to a live AA. It's a meditation meeting, step 11. Sunday morning, 8 a.m., I do AA. So I'll do AA twice, and I'll do Al-Anon once or twice, and ACA maybe every other week. It depends what my
Right.
schedule is, but I try to do it all. And it's very different. It goes much deeper. ACA goes much deeper. It's all relationships. And that's what I've learned. The alcohol, started out was my relationship, right? And then really learning how to have a relationship with human beings.
Yeah.
And yourself.
One of your chapters talks about what other people think of me is none of my business.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk a little bit about what that chapter is all about and why it was important enough to put in the book?
Well, I think about Dr. Wayne Dyer, who used to say that all the time. And my sponsor, Swinda, used to say that it's none of your business, Wendy. Don't worry about it. And it is so important because who am I going to give, the right to tell me what to do and not to do? Like, other people can become your higher power. If you're worried all the time, this one's going to be mad, that one's going to be mad. And you know what? Then you're going to run yourself ragged. And what ended up happening to, I know, a lot of people is if you're so worried about everybody else, you lose yourself, become resentful, exhausted. And what do you think happens?
Get sick.
You get sick and you can relapse, right? You could even switch addictions. That's a big one. That's another whole, topic.
So I know we talked a little bit about smart recovery. Mm-hmm. Smart recovery is kind of an alternative program, correct?
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So smart recovery is based on CBT and DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, rational emotive behavior therapy, and all these different modalities are another way to get sober. So it's very different. AA has the 12 steps, very spiritual program. This is more about evidence-based tools and practices to get sober. And I facilitate a group once a month for Break Free, which is a nonprofit, for women, the first Wednesday of every month at 5 p.m. with any addiction. So it could be sex addiction, food addiction, alcohol, drugs, even hoarding.
Smoking, gambling, anything.
Anything, smoking, gambling, debtors, and all these tools we go over. There's a workbook, a smart recovery workbook, and we do different worksheets. So I have people come with a pad and a pen and write down different tools that we do and strategies to help them, stay abstinent from whatever their addiction is.
So there aren't any 12 steps.
No.
And is there a workbook that is chronological order, like do this first, do this second, do this third,
No.
or is it open?
No, it's open. So I'll feel energetically what the women are sharing about.
Yeah.
And they connect with each other, but it's also different. AA is sponsorship. They don't really do that. And that's the one thing I try to encourage them, like exchange numbers, because I could not get sober. My clients could not stay sober if they didn't have a community or other people that they can talk to that speak their language.
Right.
So important.
So, tell us more also about you've created your own program that you feel has been very pivotal and instrumental to help other women.
Yes.
And men or just women?
Well, I focus on women, but I do help men. And it's funny because when I worked at KPC, the group that I did, the intensive outpatient, it was, 3 times a week for 3 hours, and they were mostly men. It was in the evening. So I do help men, but I focus on women in recovery and also family members. So the system that I created is the happiness recovery system. And it's how to be happier in recovery, not only, alcohol, drugs, addiction, but from the other end. Because the family members as well need help. Mm-hmm. And it's really important. Like, I believe if my first husband, went to program and he was on the same page trying to work together, we would still be together today. So it's really important because also, as a family member, all that fear and anger and frustration come and you don't know how to take care of yourself, and you become very enmeshed and codependent and worried. Oh, are you going to meetings? Are you doing this? And it could actually make the addict or alcoholic relapse by you being like a helicopter mom. So that's the program I created, how to be happier, how to set boundaries, how to take care of yourself. I have worksheets. And
If somebody wants to know more about the program, how do they find you? How do they reach you? What do they do to connect, to be part of this?
Okay, so they can go on my website and book a call, or you could direct message me. I'm on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
What's your website?
It's Wendy Behar, BEHAR.com. Pretty easy.
How did you figure that out?
I don't know.
Thank God it was available.
Right.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Is it time?
It's time.
All right. So if you can go back to another stage of your life, whether it be your younger self, like super young, you're playing tennis with your dad, not so young, you are, in your marriage, or whenever, what age would you be and what would you say to yourself if you could tell yourself something, some advice or some sort of tidbit of information? How old would you be?
How old would I be?
And what would you say? You're allowed to have 30 seconds and the music will start now.
Okay. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Okay. What would I say to myself? Don't quit before the miracle. There's something that really stands out to me. And that was probably the first year of my recovery when I was 35. Like, just don't quit. Just keep going. And also, another important thing is to ask for help.
Oh, God, really?
Really? Because it was really hard to ask for help. Also in my 30s, I could go on and on. Be honest. Really speak your truth. Say no. Really think before you do something. There's so many, different things throughout. In my 30s, I think 30s is really crucial and pivotal for me, was when I really saw that my life wasn't what I wanted it to be. 20, I was very naive and
It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. But you stepped up and you became skillful at being true to yourself, which is what was on that coin.
Yes.
And that's, at the end of the day, that's really where it all starts.
Yes.
What do I want? What do I need? And then figure out how to get there.
Right. And that's why it's important to have somebody help you, guide you. It doesn't have to be me. It could be anybody, but a coach, somebody to help you get through that, especially in the first year.
Wendy,
Thank you.
thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
This has been a real delightful interview.
I really appreciate you making the trip out today. I think that everyone can really learn a lot from your book, and I think that it's wonderful what you're doing for the whole family system.
Thank you so much. This has been an honor.
And thanks so much for watching, everybody. I want to just remind you, hit that bell, follow us, subscribe, give us your comments. We're doing the best we can to bring you the best interviews possible. And today was a great example of the hard work we're doing. I want to thank Sergio, our producer, for connecting with Wendy. He did a great job finding immense talent. And so we'll keep coming. We'll keep doing what we're doing. And thanks for watching. And thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time on Crosstalk Podcast.